Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to do scavenger adventures in Minecraft Skyblock on Cosmic Sky. I'm going to be showing off my tactics and how I do scavenger adventures and my best tips I can give you, so then you can improve and hopefully get better loot over time and run scavenger adventures for longer. Before we do that though, if you're a part of the 85% of people that are not subscribed that view my content within the past month, I would really appreciate it if you considered subscribing with notifications. So when you're on Cosmic Sky, the best way to start out, of course, to do scavenger adventures is do /scav or scavenger, and it'll open a menu. On the right side, we have the scavenger, which is all just PvE, player versus entities, and then on the left is the PvP version of it all, with PvE with better loot. Personally, if you're playing as a solo or a small group, I recommend doing scavenger adventures. It's just a wiser idea. So I'm gonna give a rundown of how scavenger adventure works. You need to survive 20 minutes or loot 3 adventure chests, which realistically isn't that difficult. You can do this pretty simple. And when you complete that, you will be sent to spawn, or you can do /spawn. And once you do that, you will get your loot at spawn with /collect. Once you are done in the scavenger adventure, I'm gonna give a rundown about reputation points. As of right now, what it's currently set to. This might change in the future. But if we take a look at scavenger reputation, we have 96, and at 100 you get tier 5, so I'm currently tier 4. And there's 5 separate tiers. The best way to get reputation points are pretty simple. Do both of the tasks, survive 20 minutes, and get 3 adventure chests looted, and what that will do is give you 3 reputation points. But if you only loot 3 chests and then leave before the 20 minutes, you will only get 1 point into your reputation points area. So I recommend doing a full 20-minute run at least if you can. But here's how the tiers work. So you start with tier 1, tier 2 is at 20 points, tier 3 is at 30, tier 4 is at 65, and tier 5 is at 100. And what the tiers do is give you better gear so you can go closer to the middle of the map, so coordinates 0, 0, which are by far the hardest mobs to fight. But I recommend sticking to the outside, so like 400 by 400 area. Stick around the outside of the whole map, because you'll be able to kill the mobs way easier when you start out, but slowly you can progress towards middle as you get your tiers up in reputation. For an example, for tier 4, you can get at least prot 3 guaranteed or prot 4 guaranteed, and the armor does not break, so it's a chance of getting either one. So what we're hoping for when we go in there is to get prot 4 with some custom enchants, of course, which will give you more hearts, regeneration, or dodge attacks, what is really good. So what we're going to do is do a full 20-minute run, and I'm gonna give a rundown of my area of where I've been farming, which I don't recommend doing until you're at least tier 3. And as I said, you should probably stay around the outskirts. But we're gonna go ahead, hop into the first scavenger adventure. And I do want to mention, you do need to get the Lost Wasteland map and then the Demonic Realm map in order to actually get the next version of the scavenger adventures as well. It'll unlock the PvP and the PvE versions, so it's very useful to get those maps when you can. But anyways, let's go ahead, hop right in. So if we take a look, we got an axe, and it's only sharp 3, not sharp 4, what is unfortunate, but we do have a guaranteed smite 3, which does help a ton. And then we got prot 3, which is unfortunate, with some custom enchants that'll go over a few of these. Adrenaline rush basically just gives you a second life. If you get killed, technically, you'll be given a ton of absorption and regeneration, but you can't attack for like 10 seconds and you can run away from the mobs. Deathbringer does more damage potentially. Dodge obviously dodges attacks from the mobs. And there's a few other, there's like Overload that gives 2 extra hearts, Angelic that gives you healing over time, Implants that heals your food, and of course Enlightened, what's another version of Angelic, just harder to get of course, but not really in Scav. So as you can see, you get $5 per kill of mob, and that doesn't change at all wherever you're at in the scavenger adventure, so you're always gonna get $5 per kill. But as you can see, I killed around 4 to 5 mobs and we get a chest. And you want to be collecting all the food as possible, because food is really good for regeneration, and same with the strength pots. If you want to do more damage, you could get those. There's a lot of useful things that can help you survive in here longer for the full 20 minutes. And currently we are nowhere close on my coordinates to my location, so we're gonna have to run over there. In the meantime, we'll loot some chests in order to get around 3 strength pots, because that's usually my go-to plan, is to get 3 strength pots and then go to the higher tier mobs that I usually fight. Because yet again, I did say that we are going to my location. What is, when you're around tier 3 to tier 4 is when you could really start using my location. A tip I'm also going to give, you can loot 3 chests and AFK by the border and get your 3 reputation points for the 20 minutes. That's also a strategy you could use. I do think they'll probably add an AFK timer in here in the future, so you can't do that. But as of right now, when this video is posted, you can do that. And one thing I will say, critical hits do matter a ton, so I'm going to give a rundown of how you can do more damage to these mobs without strength strength pots and make sure you do a lot of damage to them. So every time you get hit upwards, you do want to press your S key and left click at the same time on the mob, because when you're falling, you'll land a crit, what will do more damage. I know this is simple Minecraft PvP and PvE concept, but I don't think a lot of people know how to automatically make sure it will most likely crit. I got a scavenger clock, what I'm going to explain here in a moment as well. A scavenger clock gives you 5 minutes extra when you redeem it. Well, personally, I wouldn't even bother with those unless you're like tier 3 or tier 4 if you want to stay in the scavenger adventure longer. Personally, I don't think it's worth it when you're lower tier because you want to get more reputation points as soon as possible, is really the go-to idea of scavenger at the start. But as you can see, I'm taking like barely any damage to these mobs with just full prot 3. Of course, I do have to eat food, what will heal me. And in the latest versions of Minecraft, food heals way more, especially golden carrots, because it's based off your saturation, I guess. I don't know how to explain it properly, but eating food, even if it's not a golden apple, is significantly good. I still recommend eating golden apples as quick as you can if you have the option to do that. The only downside is once you eat a golden apple and you eat another one, you'll get a 30-second cooldown before you can start eating them again, and then that repeats over and over. It's called golden apple sickness, so if you get that, you'll start getting nausea effect or whatever it's called, and it's not very ideal if you have that happen to you. Here's a recommendation. So I'm on like 3 hearts. If I have the chance to go ahead and just eat right here against an archer, and only an archer, I recommend just eating a golden carrot, not even a golden apple. You're wasting a ton of valuable healing when you're trying to fight more mobs at once. Like this right here, I would say eat a golden apple so you can tank them more and have the regen too. And I also forgot to mention, if you do have a certain level of skill in PvE skills, I can't really show it since I'm in scav, but basically what it does in a certain skill is it basically gives you 25% more healing from splash pots, so like the ones we have in our inventory. So if you can get up to that, what I think you need at least rank 3, what is kind of unfortunate, but if you have rank 3, get up to that on your skill tokens because it's very useful. You would only need to splash 1 instead of 2 pots in most cases, which is really, really useful for conserving pots. And I'm gonna give a rundown of these green chests as well. So what these green chests are is basically a chance of better loot. All I've noticed for better loot is like quite literally just skill tokens. Sometimes I get like shards and stuff, but the skill tokens are like the best thing I've gotten from those. And you find more of them when you're closer to middle, but I still wouldn't recommend doing that until you actually manage to have better tier on your gear from reputation. I'm just giving a rundown of everything I can think of that I know so far from playing the new scavenger adventures, because these weren't here 5 years ago. It was just regular adventures with alignments. And as you can see, I almost died there. That was because of adrenaline rush, and it's 8 seconds, not 10 seconds, my bad. Now I can go ahead and fight the mobs again, but adrenaline rush might not proc again, so I gotta be careful of that. So I gotta fight these mobs carefully, because these ones do a lot of damage. Oh yeah, and another tip I should give is when mobs are going up a hill like this, you can S-tap them, like W and then S. I don't really know how to explain it. If you look at my keystrokes, you might get a better example. But when they're going up a hill, it's easier to hit them and push them back down, is what I'm trying to say, so you can get free hits on the mobs. Honestly, we're not even at the location that I usually farm at, what is kind of sad. We need to get over there. Okay, we got a green chest here. Give me something good. Nothing good, unfortunate. So here we are. This is the location if you want to recognize the area, but it's about 100 on my Z coordinate, and then about like -30 on my X coordinate is the starting part of this area, and then you just loot around here. But the mobs are very hard to fight, of course, so just keep that in mind. Like that, I almost just died. I think one thing people lack the most when doing these scavenger adventures is they lack potting because of how much damage these mobs do. You need to be good at potting your potions down on the ground, or else you will just die in like certain scenarios you really wish you didn't die in. But I usually farm within here and all around. That's pretty much my location. You can look at the coordinates on the top left of the screen if you want. Oh my gosh, these mobs are so difficult to fight. But as you can see, turning and stuff also does help, and tapping your keys on your keyboard instead of just holding W and praying, I think is something a lot of people might be doing and dying because of that. Because I find a lot of loot on the ground, and it's from people dying, of course. A gem, okay, nothing good there. I'm trying to make this mostly uncut so I can show you all my key movements when I'm hitting a mob, so you can kind of take an example from that and learn from it, I guess. I don't really know, because learning how other people press their keys when they're about to attack a mob is a good way to teach someone. I will say that at least. eat a Gapple, and we'll go in on these. Archers, you don't really have to worry about in higher tier areas unless they have flame, which those ones didn't, but I still felt like Gappling. It's mainly the melee mobs and the wolves that will cause you the most havoc. And I almost just died there because I didn't have a potion in that slot. As you can see in chat, it says I got golden apple sickness warning, that I might contract it in 30 seconds if I eat a Gapple within that time. So of course I can't eat a Gapple for about 30 seconds, and then I can start eating them again. And if you throw potions up in the air straight up and stand still, they'll do more healing. Just thought I mentioned that as well because you will get more healing from them. So if there's no mobs around, you want to get more healing, go for it. Okay, we ate a Gapple. We're gonna go fight these mobs now. The wolves are kind of a pain right now. Oh my gosh. I just juked all those mobs. Oh my. And it's risky playing like this, especially with Prot 3. If you have a guaranteed Prot 4 set, it's way easier to fight these mobs, I will say that. And right now I'm rocking Prot 3, so it is kind of a little bit more difficult to make sure I don't die for this video specifically, to show it is possible with Prot 3. You just need to know what you're doing. Do I have weakness? Why am I doing like little damage? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was doing very little damage to the mobs for some reason, and I didn't even have weakness. That's crazy. Oh, and there we go, our first player skill token of the run. So as you can see, player skill tokens are common in those green chests. It's just a matter of doing a ton of runs around green chest areas to make sure you can actually get a skill token. And I'll show once we're done the run exactly what you would do with it in order to get that skill that I was mentioning earlier. Okay, we got nothing out of that one. Nothing out of that one. I'm gonna make sure we don't die in these next 4 minutes because I do want to make sure I secure this run. We're getting low on pots, so I'm probably not gonna fight any more mobs after this if I run out of pots. And to give a rundown, skill tokens are worth about 400,000 at least right now. So right there, I have an item worth 400,000, which is kind of a lot for solo players especially, and people that don't play in big groups. So I highly recommend selling them unless you need them for certain skills at the time. It really depends on the situation, I guess. Another green chest, nothing good, unfortunate. Oh my gosh, I almost died there again. Okay, so we're basically out of pots. I think we'll go kill just some lower tier mobs for the time being, and then we'll be done with this run. Okay, so the run is done. To claim your items, of course, you do /collect, claim them, and there you go. You got all the items you had previously in that run. And for the skill token, if you wanted to claim it, you would right click it and click this to claim it to your player, which I'm not going to do since I already have 10 of the 15 maxed out that I only want, of course. But if we do /skills, you can see there's PvE skills, instant potions heal 25% more, negative 50% food loss, and negative 50% adventure leave timer, plus 10% more damage to PvE mobs or whatever, so you can do more damage to them. The only good benefit in the PvP section, if you're not PvPing, I recommend is going for number 4, so you'd need 4 skill tokens, what is just giving you more health, which personally, that is around like 1.6 million at least, just to get all the way up there, which is not really that worth it when you could just go into the PvE skills alone. But there you go. That is how I do my runs in Scavenger, at least in the first area. And of course, I forgot to mention, if you're not a top rank, you will have a hour time for waiting till the next run you can do. If you're top rank, you have 45 minutes. Of course, there's other maps you could get, but honestly, I'm not going for those as of right now, but I would recommend going for them even though I haven't done it myself. Anyways, I hope these tips and all of the stuff I mentioned in this video was helpful at all. Let me know down below in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one.